This week on thERINpy, it's psychologist, executive coach, and working mom, Dr. Anne Welsh. Dr. Anne blends clinical insight with real world strategies, giving mothers language, validation, and practical tools to pursue meaningful work while protecting their mental and emotional health. Her upcoming book, Ambitious Mother From Surviving to Thriving in Your Career and at Home, shares both her professional expertise and lived experience. As a mother who has navigated the demands of career ambition alongside parenting, Dr. Ann understands the invisible pressure many women feel to succeed at work while being fully present at home, often at the cost of their own well being. Her book challenges the myth that mothers must choose between success and sanity and offers a compassionate, researched back roadmap to help women redefine ambition in ways that support both their families and themselves. Please do me a favor and hit subscribe wherever you're listening to this episode. That way you'll get an alert every time a new thERINpy drops. Maybe even take 2 seconds to leave me a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That would help me out so much, and it is how people find new shows. We even have a thERINpy discussion group on Facebook where you can pitch me guests or topics that you want to talk about. And now your weekly dose of thERINpy with Dr. Anne Welsh. thERINpy is me doing therapy with a mental health professional or a coach and talking about whatever it is I'm struggling with at the time, so that the premise is other women can listen in on the sessions and get the answers without having to be vulnerable themselves. Right now, it's a lot of co-parenting,
Okay.
divorce, dating after divorce in your 40s with kids, sobriety, and balancing all the things. You have a new book coming out, Ambitious Mother, where you talk about the delicate balance that is being ambitious in your career, which I am, and feeling like you're still a present mother. So I definitely want to get into the book, and I have a lot for you there. But I wanted to start with your story and kind of decisions that shaped your life and your career. I want you to first talk about the decision to not go to medical school after you got in.
Yeah, my parents thought I was crazy. I,
I
I think
mean,
I questioned my own mental health too. But I think if I look back at that, it was kind of a pivotal moment in so many ways. But I just remember what I viscerally remember is you do so much work to get in, right? And
yes.
it's kind of where I had been pointing for my whole life. My parents joke that like I was born with a stethoscope in hand, right? Like I received Christmas presents to Dr. Kavanaugh, which was my maiden
Oh
name.
my gosh.
And both of my parents were doctors. And there was a genuine interest when I was little, right? I liked science. I liked helping people. Mom's a doctor. Okay, let's do that, right? The way you decide on a career path when you're a child.
Yes.
And somewhere along the way, I can't tell you when, it shifted from I'm doing it because I want this to I'm doing it because this is what I'm supposed to do.
Hmm.
And I stopped asking whether I wanted it. And I didn't notice until I was standing in my kitchen with the envelope, the acceptance letter in my hand. And I remember it was from Northwestern University, where both of my parents had gone to medical school.
Oh,
And I opened it and kind of expected to feel like some relief or excitement. And I was just
nothing.
numb. It was nothing. And I was like, whoa, it'll sink in a little bit and maybe I'll find it. And nothing.
Right.
And kind of hemmed and hawed. And I think on some level, the whole time I knew I was just procrastinating, saying, I'm not going. Like it was the sense of, I might like this, but I can't sign up for the next 20 years of doing this for a maybe. That if I don't feel like this is really pulling my soul, this is not a career you can kind of just dabble in. It's
Yes.
a pretty big commitment. And so I remember I was kind of going back and forth, and I talked to my brother, actually, of all people. So I'm one of four, I'm the third, and my brother is the second. And I was telling him everything I was thinking. And he said, Anne, it sounds like you just want permission to not go. It's not that you don't know what you want, it's that you're just looking for permission. And I was like, yes, that.
Yeah.
And as soon as I labeled, I know what I want, that's when I decided I'm not going. And I will say, to my parents' credit, right? Like they didn't force it. They didn't argue with me. I think they kind of just, you know, were quiet and were like, okay, I think this is a horrible plan, but we'll let her try and let her figure it out for herself. And, in hindsight, it was definitely the right call for me. I
Mhm.
think I could have been a good doctor, but I think I probably would have been pretty unhappy. And so to take some time to explore what else I wanted was definitely the right decision.
But how self-aware of you to, like, make that decision? Because some people would be like, "Well, it's Northwestern, it's where my parents went," and would just do it to appease everyone else, like, "This is what you do," and you knew that it didn't light you up. I have to ask you, when you said you ran it by your brother, have you ever had your human design read, or do you know your human design? Have you heard
I
of
know
this?
the idea of it, but I've never had mine done. No.
So it's how you make decisions. And there's, I believe, I'm a generator. So I'm a sacral generator and I get these feelings in my body. And when I got my reading, they were like, it does not matter if it doesn't make sense in your head. If you get a feeling, they said, if you're taking your kids to soccer practice and you're supposed to make a left and something is telling you to go right, you go right, because that's how you make decisions. But there's one, I believe it's projector, where to make decisions, you have to run it by somebody else and get it projected back. And then you know, and it seems like that's how you made the decision. So I'm assuming that that's your human design that just came out to me. But then there was also leaving a job at Harvard. You did this again? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I joke that I like, leapt off one ladder and just started climbing another. And it wasn't intentional. I think I'm inherently an ambitious person,
Sure.
right? And so I, decided I wanted to be a clinical psychologist, right? I became the quote wrong kind of doctor, if you will. um, right. And so you climb the ladder up and up again, right? I got into grad school. I did well at grad school. I did my internship and I landed a job at Harvard and it was the dream job. And it truly was the job that I wanted. It wasn't a fake dream job. I loved working with the students there. They were, they're bright and insightful and I really enjoyed university mental health on some level, but it also very quickly became clear that it was not a fit as a working parent. So I
Yes.
was pregnant with my second child, and for those of you who don't work in university mental health, we're asking a lot of mental health clinicians in universities right now.
Sure.
I had a caseload of 60 clients, but was only supposed to work 40 hours a week on
Mhm.
top of doing like case notes and consultation and outreach and all of the other things that somebody does. So it was kind of like show up, don't take a breath, end your day, all in a very like highly giving capacity. And then I would come home and feel like I have nothing left to give my 2-year old and I'm pregnant, and I thought to myself, okay, can I cut back at work a little bit? Like maybe I can do this in a way that feels right and good for my clients and for my kids if I can work like half time or 80%. And another clinician who was pregnant at the time, we developed this job share plan and we laid out the logistics of how it would work with like our clinical caseloads so that we could split this position. And I took it to the director, and he was not a clinician and he didn't even look at it. I mean, he like took the piece of paper and was like, yeah, we don't do part time. And essentially said, there are 500 other people waiting in line for your job. You
This
can
is
take it or
Harvard.
leave it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
and they're not wrong, right? It was a very competitive job to get. I was kind of lucky to get it, and at the same time, I was a very good clinician with highly specialized training in eating disorders, which are rampant on college campuses.
yes.
And I left because I knew, again, it was like that gut knowing in that moment. Like, no, I cannot do this and feel good about the quality of my work and the quality of my mothering. And so I'm going to leave.
Yes.
And what's interesting is I told him on the way out the door later, I said, I might be the first person to leave because of this. I will not be the last. And that's what ended up happening. A lot of other clinicians who were young and starting families ended up calling me and saying, hey, how did you start your private practice? I think I want to do the same thing. And I walked them through the process.
Gosh, that was your calling. Like, it all unfolded how it was supposed to. I think you were saying, like, as a mom, and I'm sure so many working moms can attest to this, you feel like you're not showing up enough in either realm, as a mom or at work. Like, it's such a hard balance. You talk about the escalation of modern motherhood and the expectations on moms that didn't used to be there. Can we talk about, like, where is our village? Where did that go?
Yeah. So that's part of the problem, right? So there's almost like two things here. There's that escalation piece that I talk about. My I mentioned I've one of four kids. My older sister is 10 years older than I am. And her experience of parenting was dramatically different than mine, because of that, right? We are putting so much more on mothers. Right now, you can't even buy like mustard at the grocery store without reading the ingredients to make sure there's nothing toxic in it. Right? I mean,
Yes.
it's paralyzing. And we've also started to frame motherhood as every single thing, every interaction with them is going to make or break their health and wellness for the rest of their lives. That's a lot of pressure. And then you
Yes.
add social media, which has us doing comparisons day and night and shows us other ways we're failing. And it's this, and then childcare is impossibly expensive, right? There's
Yeah.
all of these things that are making motherhood so much harder. We're also expecting mothers to invest a lot more time in being with their kids. Working mothers in today's world spend more time actively with their children than at home mothers did in the 70s.
That is a fair point. I wasn't thinking about it like that.
Right?
Yes.
And
Uh,
so we are just upping the ante consistently around what we want moms to do. And it's part of this feeling of it's impossible because, yeah, it is.
yes. And don't like, I think I heard from you, studies show that it's not quantity of time. It's
Yes.
quality. It's like the locked in 20 to 30 minutes that they're getting versus I'm home, but I'm on my screen. It's like we think if we're with them, as long as you lock in the time that you have, it's not that you were home all day.
Yes, absolutely. If the two most important things I think I could try to convey to working moms is that quality over quantity, right? It was a study actually out of Harvard where they did like time studies, right? They like track what are people doing with their time and then compare it to all of this other data. And they were looking at kids that I think in this particular study it was 3 to 11, and it showed that the amount of time that you spent with your kids had no bearing on all sorts of wellness outcomes for those kids. What's interesting is with teenagers, there is a relationship of time, but only up to 6 hours, which is not that much time over the course of a week. This is not a
Mhm.
day, this is a
Oh,
week,
I'm like,
right?
okay.
And
Okay.
so that can include a conversation when you're driving them to soccer practice or whatever, right? Like
Yes.
20-minute snippets. But really, we get so caught up on, am I spending enough time with them? And really, it is, am I present when I'm with them? And
Yes.
5 minutes of being with someone and like really noticing what they're doing is going to be so much more impactful than an hour of like sitting there kind of thinking about your work to do or making a grocery list and kind of half listening and not paying
Yes.
attention to what they're saying.
Yes. Just that whole mental load of motherhood that like nobody knows, no one in the family knows the things that moms have to know. Like tomorrow is dress like a reindeer day or the school lunch choice or field trip permission slip. Like their dad doesn't know any of these things. Like we have to take on so many other things already that it's like being present with them and trying to lock in. And I will get like, I created my brand. This is my baby too. Like I guess I have three babies. So I will like think of something that I'm very passionate about, like a post or an idea. And it's very hard for me to shut off brand Erin, even though I'm
Yes.
like, I know I record my show 10 to 2 so that I can get my kids off the bus and be locked in. But as an entrepreneur or something that you created and a creative person, like it's very hard for me. And I love what I do. So I try so hard to be locked in. But like, do you have any tips for someone that is like a creator and it's hard for me to shut that off and put like hours on my career?
Yeah. Well, and I totally relate. Like my brain kind of like enjoys playing with problems. Like it's fun to come up with stuff. And like I joke that my book was like sentences that would just bubble up one at a time and I kind of kept
Yes.
track of them. Right. And so part of it is recognizing that this is hard. Presence is hard for us and it's
Yes.
getting harder. The more we spend time on tech, the human attention span is actually shrinking, right? Like I used to be someone that could sit and read a novel for hours, and now I will sit and read and I'll like have the urge to check my phone and I have to
Yes.
fight against that. But I think presence is also a muscle that we can practice.
Okay.
And so maybe it's you can only do 2 minutes and you have that thought that bubbles up and you say, okay, thank you, brain, like for putting that here. I'm going to pay attention to that in 5 minutes. Or you keep a piece of paper next to you and instead of your phone and just jot it
Oh,
down. Like if you have an idea,
that's
right? Like
that's what
it's
I
just a
do. I
place
put
to
it in
put
my
it.
notes on my phone, but now I'm back on the phone and then I'll see something. So that
Yeah.
is such a tangible tip. Don't put it in the notes of your phone because then you're holding your phone. Something's going to pop up. piece of paper, like old
Right.
school. Okay. Yeah. What a great tip that is.
It's also just like, okay, I can feel that pull. I don't have to engage with it, right? And so part of mindfulness and presence is not I'm a Zen Buddhist and I clear my brain and I'm only focused on what I'm doing. The practice is the bringing your attention back
Yes.
over and over and over again. That's the goal, right? And so if you are playing with your kids and your brain goes somewhere else, you can just say, "Hey, bring your attention back to my kids." And you might have to
Hmm.
do it every 30 seconds, and that's okay because you're building that bring it back muscle as you do it.
Totally. Do you meditate?
I do.
Because I just had someone on talking to me about meditation. I'm like, I can't shut my brain off. He's like, Erin, thoughts will come, but it's like when you don't follow it, you say like, "Hi, I'll get to you later." So it's like how you're explaining this is like how he was like. I said, "How do I not think of my grocery list?" I look at it as like, if I'm just sitting here, what can I do to get myself ahead? Everything is about setting myself up. Like
Yeah.
tomorrow, Erin is going to be so set up, but there's always more things. So present day, Erin is always like flailing in pursuit of setting up my future self. And like, if I just knock this off now, then I'll wake up and like, if I do the dishes now, or if I put the grocery order in, I'm always trying to like go ahead and be efficient, like to a fault. And I think that like perfectionism, you said that kind of pressure keeps us in a constant state of overwhelm that I live in, but it's all in the name of getting it all done and being efficient mom. Like it's like this great thing that you're doing, but it's like I live in a constant state of overwhelm trying to cross off all the things because that's how I validate myself that I was a good mom and I had a successful day. Look at all the things that I crossed off.
Bingo, right? I think you just hit on what's underneath it all, which
Yes.
is you're trying to earn your worth, right?
Yes.
I'm not
100%.
enough. If I'm struggling, if I'm falling behind, etc., however we want to define that, I am not valuable enough as a person and I need all of these achievements to prove to myself that I would deserve to take up space.
Yes.
And that's not true, right? Like that's literally the heart of my work, right? Is especially for mothers to remind people that we are enough and that you deserve to be part of the equation, right? And I think
That's
what
so
you've
hard for me.
discovered, what you're saying is like, I check off all those things and there's just a whole nother list, right? The only reward for finishing your to-do list is another to-do list. And so if you're
100%.
waiting for someone else to give you permission to stop, it's not coming. You end up having to do it.
It's it's more like not even like I have worth as a person, as a mom specifically. It's like, what did you even do today? It's the comparison of like other moms have a 9 to 5 job and they don't have a nanny and they don't do a meal service. It's the comparison. And you don't know that. I had somebody on, she's like, Erin, how do you know if they don't have a nanny? Because they don't put it on Instagram. They could have somebody
Right.
cooking, cleaning. And it's like we compare and we try to like, no, look at me. Like I'm in a capacity, well, I'm going through a divorce, but we could have had a nanny. But my pride was like, no, other people are doing this without a nanny. So what kind of mom am I if I get a nanny? And that probably, I'm not gonna say what would go as far as like saving our marriage, but it was really help our marriage because I got super resentful and wouldn't ask for
Yes.
help because I was trying to show that I was the mom could do it all. And if I had to ask for help, it was like, well, you're a shitty mom. All these other moms, it was the comparison and proving in a mom specific capacity that I was a good mom. Not so much that I didn't have value as a person, but like measuring up to like all these other moms. And if they don't have a nanny and they're doing it, I have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's where we make a lot of assumptions about what other people are doing because we only see the veneer, right? And
Yes.
I talk a lot about that in my book is this concept of pretending. It's not conscious. Like I don't think we are doing it to put on a show. We're doing it because it feels like, well, I look around and see this veneer of accomplishment around my neighborhood or social media or whatever. And so I don't want to let anyone else know that I'm a hot mess inside. And so we all kind of have these very thin veneers of like, oh, everything's fine. I'm handling it. Like, don't worry about the like dumpster fire behind me. We're all good. And it leaves us feeling incredibly disconnected from ourselves, from each other. We're isolated. It's tanking our mental health, right? And so it's part of why it's really important to be honest about the struggle and where we have help and that we need help. One of the things with help I encourage clients to do is like, we have a lens around everyone else is doing it better than us, but not to look where, people are failing, but to say like, well, where do I see other people asking for help? And
Ooh,
also, sometimes asking for help is a favor to the person that's giving it, right? It feels good to help. And so, can I frame it as a way of like giving something by asking for help?
yes.
Right. And so,
I
really
never thought
trying
of
to
that.
challenge some of those viewpoints around help in terms of our own ability to access it and ask for it and what it means. It's not a burden, which is the way we kind of think about it sometimes.
I never considered that, like giving somebody else the opportunity to be able to help you, and that feeds it their soul. There were 2
Yeah.
reframes that people gave me. Somebody said, "Just because we have the capacity to do it all doesn't mean that we should."
Yeah.
Like, I have to show I can do it without, like, even asking my husband, my pride, I was like, I thought he would be like, "Oh, you need me to help you with it?" Like, my mom, and he wasn't saying these things, and like, I was like, he's probably, his mom was a working mom and she did all this. I can't ask for help. I have to show him that I can do it. So just because you have the capacity doesn't mean that you should. And then this woman was Mrs. World. It's like a Miss Universe pageant. I had her on. She gave me this reframe. She was like, I used to feel guilty if I got DoorDash or if I, and I'm like, yeah, because you think like everybody else is like cooking a meal, or I sent my laundry out. Like there's a lady that does my laundry. She's like, I put it on the steps. She brings it back clean. And I was like, we just need to say these things. And she goes,
Yeah.
what changed it for me is she said, I am the CEO of my household. If I did not set up this service for laundry and have DoorDash arriving at 5:48, I am the one making everything happen. So you're not doing it, but you're making all of this happen for your family. So you are doing it. She's like, once you're the CEO, you're delegating things out, but it's only happening because you did it. And that reframe kind of, I was like, okay, like they have food because it's not somebody else made it. You made sure the DoorDash was here at this time. The clothes were back by baseball practice and he had his uniform. And I was like, okay, I'm the CEO of my household. I have my hands on all of it. And it's only happening because of me, not me looking at it as like I didn't cook and I didn't clean their stuff.
Absolutely. And what's so striking is like, I think the business model is such a good one. And I talk a lot about that when I talk about like fair play and division of labor conversations. We don't expect in a business for the CEO to also be working the line. Like
Yes.
that's too much work for one person. But we
True.
expect mothers to do both, right? They're
Yeah.
expected to do that, all of the work of managing the mental load and doing all of the things themselves. That's
Yes.
crazy. Like if anyone were to run a business that way, it would be they burn themselves out instantly, right? It would not
Yes.
be a successful business.
Right. Oh my gosh, great. Yes, exactly. We're held to a higher standard. And
Yeah.
if you talk about like a driven, entrepreneurial, ambitious mom, ambition seems like a dirty word. It seems like you're selfish. And where are your children while you are working on your ambition? You redefine ambition for mothers. We use an outdated model that demands burnout, sacrifice, and guilt. How do you define ambition now?
So I think, or I know for a long time, we have defined ambition or used the model of a ladder, right? When
Mhm.
we think about ambition, kind of the image that comes to mind is climbing the corporate ladder. And if you think about a ladder, it's evenly spaced rungs. You just go one step after the other. It's narrow. There's not room for a lot of people on the ladder. And at the top, we only have access to, maybe money or power, maybe title, right? But it's a very kind of defined version
Yeah.
of ambition. And part of the ladder model is that if you are not on the ladder, you have fallen off, right? And that is disgraceful. That's a failure. So the only way to be ambitious is to kind of single mindedly climb to the top without pause or rest or anything else. I want people to think about ambition as a web instead. And I came to this analogy many, many years ago, watching my kids on a playground web. Like, those like rope
I
structures, there's
do.
like a
We
million
have that.
knots, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And like there's kids climbing up, climbing down. They're like hanging upside down by their knees. There's like someone having some, graham crackers in the corner and resting, right? There's all sorts of ways to be on it. And there's room for a lot of kids. That's what ambition is. Ambition is not only for power, money, and status, it can be for space and connection and impact. And we can change what our ambition is for over the course of our lifetimes. In fact, that's quite natural, right? There's room for pivots, there's room for rest, there's room for a lot of people, right? For me, I was ambitious from like a very standard perspective earlier in my life.
Sure.
And I had kids, and that ambition didn't fade, but I had new ambition for connection with my children and time with them. And now my ambition is shifted again. Like I still want that connection, but I also want to have impact. And so I'm doing work in a different way than I used to, that's much more public facing than being a therapist only, right? And we're
Yes.
allowed to make those pivots. In fact, that's very natural in terms of human development over the course of the lifespan. So we need models for ambition that actually reflect what we do and the reality of our lives, that don't punish us or shame us when we don't kind of toe the line.
Yes. And talk about models for ambition. You're showing, you have daughters? Yeah,
I have
daughters
one
and sons.
daughter and three boys and a girl. Yeah.
I always tend to say daughters, like, because you're a woman, to show her, but
Yeah.
show all your kids that they can do something like this too, and they can have impact. Because I was feeling shame and was actually getting shamed, I'll say, for going to do speaking or book signings when I had kids at home. And it's like, why aren't you with your kids? Katie Couric is the one that reframed this. I said, I'm interviewing you. There's a little boy with curly hair right now, and he's got his hands on the door. And my inclination is to be like, what do you need, buddy? Stop this. She goes, don't you dare stop it. She goes, you show him that what mommy's doing is important and that one day he can have something that's important and helps people, or bring him in and make him a part of it. But I always was like thinking that he was seeing that I was choosing this, even though you're here. But she's like, no, you show him this is important too. And that felt like, I guess she gave me permission to be like, no, this is important work, because I always thought they should be first. And she was like, get out of here with that. You are, because I said, you were the anchor of the Today Show. You had two young girls. How did you balance? She's like, I love that they saw that I could do that. And now she knows that she can do it. So you're showing them a model of what they can have. And I want my daughter to find something that she is lit up by. And whether it's a global impact or not, she gets to do this. And I would never want her to feel shame for it. And I'm the model for that. So I have to show her that you can do this. And I would never want her to hold shame about it. So how can I? How can I be like, well, no, I'm going to stop. This is nothing. You're the most important, which seems like the right thing to do as a mother. But Katie was like, oh my, no. She goes, don't you dare go over there. And I was like, what? So I'm always like thinking back, like, no, what mommy does is important too. I'll be there in 1 second. It felt wrong.
Yeah, well, of course it did, because we're told that the ultimate motherhood is self-sacrifice and martyrdom
Yes.
and burn yourself completely down to nothing, as a
Yes.
way of showing love and care. But that doesn't actually work. And when we completely make our children the only thing in our lives, that's like implicitly a lot of pressure on them to make us happy, right? If they are the only thing we have going on in our lives, it feels like devotion, but it's also saying, hey, kiddo, your life is the thing that makes me happy. And therefore, you better be happy, because if not, I'm going to struggle. Because kids want to make us happy. That is like they biologically programmed into them, right? And
Yes.
so it's actually important for a lot of reasons for us to have a life. It doesn't mean you have to have work, but to have some sort of life outside of our children and things that fuel us outside of our children. Um,
Yes.
both as that role modeling, but also as permission to them to struggle and to fail and to not be happy and not have it be taking us down with them, essentially.
Yes, a beautiful reframe again. Yes. What about a mom that is feeling burnt out and like she has to earn rest, which is very much how I live? It's like if I cross everything off my list, now I can sit. But if I sit down and there's still more things to be crossed off, I haven't earned it yet. I'm sure that that would lead to burnout. What if somebody that is validating that way does not let themselves rest? Talk about that and any other tips to avoid burnout if you're not there yet as a mom.
Yeah, and I think it comes up a lot. And part of it is really socialized into us. I think if you think about like the academic model, it's like I have so many clients of all ages who just carry that academic sense of I'll push through, get through, finals period, and then I'll collapse. Right. And
Yes.
this push and collapse and push and collapse. So we do that for the first, 25 or whatever years of our lives. And then you get into the real world and you can't do that anymore. But
Mm-mm.
it's like we have so much practice doing it one way, it all of a sudden becomes really hard to say, oh, I actually need to actively choose to take a vacation or choose to rest, even though there are still things to be done.
Feels lazy.
And so, yeah,
It's like, what are you
right,
doing? There's things to be done. Why are you sitting down? Is how my brain perceives rest.
right. And so one way I frame it is that sometimes, and I'll put myself in this category historically, part of it is that rest doesn't actually feel safe in our nervous systems, right? So we sit down to try to rest, and your body, like you said, is saying, but there's a million things to do, like
Yes.
panic, run, right? It's scary. And so that's not
Yes.
actually even restful. You take the rest and then you're like, I don't feel rested. I just feel now anxious because I wasn't working. And
Yes.
so as the kind of sometimes we need a bridge, right? A bridge of in terms of how we're thinking about it, or in terms of even what we're doing. Rest doesn't have to mean sleep and not doing. I like to think about rest as refueling, right? So just like you would plug your phone into the wall and it gets energy, what gives you energy? So maybe you don't want to have your quote rest be
A
sitting on
nap.
the couch and doing
Yeah.
nothing or taking a nap, right? Maybe your rest is, I don't know, joining a field hockey league or taking a knitting class, or
Okay.
maybe there's even work things that give you energy, right? For me, writing is something that actually gives me energy. Happens to be something I do as part of my job,
Yeah.
right? And so what are the things that feel like yours and feel
Yes.
fueling? And
Okay.
let's start there. You don't
Love that.
have to do nothing. You just have to do something that you enjoy.
Yes, and that is a bridge because maybe, like, you get used to that, and then you maybe one day can take a nap because your body will actually feel safe enough to do so.
Yes, but we have
I
to teach our bodies that that is okay.
Yes. I also, I have a 10 and a 7-year-old, and I do not delegate much to them. As a mother of 4 and your kids are older, when did you start I mean, if I could get some stuff off my plate, I would feel less like I needed to be so efficient. What should they be doing at this age, and how did you start, like, making them a part of things and delegating, like, housework and some of the stuff that's on my list that I could delegate to my son and daughter?
Yeah, I think one of the hard things about delegating to our children is that, and this sometimes shows up in marriages too, it's easier to do it ourselves. And it
Yes,
might
they
feel
won't do it
faster to
right.
do it ourselves.
Yes.
And I have to still nag them to do the things, or I'll say remind them to do the things. But my biggest accomplishment as a mom this year has been that I've gotten all of my children to do their own laundry. It's huge. But
Wow.
I really had to let go of how that is done, right? So that means that most of my children, well, I'd say two of my children will actually put their clothes away. Two of them have two laundry baskets, a clean basket and a dirty basket. And the clothes
Okay.
never get put away, and they know
Okay.
which is which. And part of me is like, oh, that's real uncomfortable. That's not how we do laundry. But also, really, does it matter? Like, is this the hill I'm going to die on? Absolutely not, because I want them to understand that they can do it. What is
Yeah.
interesting about the laundry story is the impetus for like why I started doing it was that my youngest, who I will say in a moment of like not being a good role model as a mom, she's the girl. And she was like, Mom, I'm ready to do my own laundry. Will you teach me? And I was like, why have I not taught my male children who are all older and clearly
Oh,
capable of this
yeah.
skill? And it was an eye opening thing where I really try to teach this stuff and be aware of gender socialization. And it was one I missed. I just missed it because I was just
Right.
doing it. So it
Right.
was like, all
Wow.
right, if she's learning, you're all learning. But they help with, one takes out the trash. They do a lot of the animal care. We have a million pets. They
Okay.
do put the dishes, they unload the dishwasher, right? And it's a work in progress. Like it's sometimes they don't do it and I have to do it for them. But it's like with any new skill that we're learning, I know we'll get there eventually. And um, part of it has been kind of thinking, especially as my kids are getting older, I don't want them to be the kid that shows up at college that doesn't know how to do these things. So part of my job is to teach them.
That's what I'm gonna have to use because I'm so, like, OCD about, like, if I have them unload the dishwasher, there's gonna be cups with plates, and it's gonna
Yes,
be an adjustment for me, but I'm also gonna be sending them out into the world and not know how to unload a dishwasher or do their laundry, so it's gonna be a disservice to them, so I just need to sit in my control stuff. It's not gonna be
discomfort.
done right. It's not gonna be as
Yeah,
fast as I could
yeah.
do it because I need to let go of that. I am holding them back with my OCD type control. I want to get to when you coach moms on just finding what lights them up. Moms feeling maybe unfulfilled because that's how I used to be feeling. Is it
Mhm.
hard for you to even get like is it hard for them, the people you coach to even admit? Because it's like, no, you're a mom. You're so fulfilled. You're a mother. And to even say, because I will go first and say I was not. And I thought my whole life I couldn't wait to be a mom. I still love being a mom, but I felt like there was more. And I wasn't completely lit up by being a mom alone. So when you coach women, is it even hard for them to admit that?
Yes, and I think it shows up in kind of two ways. Like sometimes it'll be I have everything I thought I wanted and I'm still not happy. Something must be
Yes.
wrong with me. And sometimes it is more explicit, right? I have definitely have clients who are like, love my work and I love my kids, but I feel like there's something broken in me that I don't want to be with them all the time because we've
Yeah.
painted this model of motherhood that is it should be all encompassing and all fulfilling, and it's not for many of us, right? It is fulfilling and lovely and beautiful and hard and miserable and boring all at the same time. And for some women it is the thing that they want to do all the time, and for many of us it's not, and that's okay too.
Yes.
And I think part of it is that we as girls are socialized to turn off our want muscle from the minute we are born. What does everybody
Yes.
else want for you? How can you serve others? How can you perform well in school, right? Are you the, as I was, the pleasure to have in class, performing from day one, right? And so I talk to them about want as this atrophied muscle that we haven't used, right? I mean, when's the last time you chose what you wanted for dinner rather than accommodating picky eaters and food allergies and what's
Yes.
available or whatever?
Or watch
And
TV. Like, I can't watch a show. I'm not
right.
gonna put on what I you watch, what the kids watch. Like, you're last. It's just what it is. You're a mother.
Exactly. And so what I encourage them to do is, as corny as it sounds, can follow the breadcrumbs of joy. Like what is a
Okay.
little teeny tiny spark? And let's see where it goes. It doesn't have to become something, but it's just even learning to notice that feeling or a want, right? Practicing with really small ones. Like, what do you want for dinner? We have pizza every Friday, and I'm I get sick of pizza quite often. And so these days I'm like, yeah, we're having pizza for you guys and I'm getting something different, or I'm going to make myself something different because I don't want pizza.
Yes, what a
Yeah,
rebel. I
I'm
love
making
it.
two dinners. Okay, but I get it right. Like, fine. I still get to have a want there. I don't have
Right.
to default into pizza.
Yes. We shouldn't be asking what we deserve. What should we be asking ourselves?
I think we get really hung up on, do I deserve this? And what I want women to start asking is, what do I desire? Right? Not, do I deserve this time off, or do I deserve this cookie, or do I deserve this, whatever it is, this goal that I want to pursue? Do I desire it?
Yes. That brings me into a little segue into my marriage that I'm going through a divorce. You have stayed in your marriage through different evolutions of yourself. I guess, like, your advice for anyone listening that is going through a separation or a divorce, how does one stay in a marriage as they move through different evolutions of themselves? And you're not the same person that your spouse married, but also that's kind of the point. And you're supposed to evolve and be a better version, but maybe that version doesn't really align with the person you married maybe 20 years ago. And now, how do you keep your marriage a priority through different evolutions of the person that you vowed to spend your life with?
I think in some ways I was lucky that I picked a partner who has kind of evolved with me.
Okay.
We met in college, we'll be married for 20 years. I think though one thing that was abundantly clear from the beginning was that he was very much in support of my ambition. And there have been many times and many conversations where I've felt like I had to step back, and he's really encouraged me to think about staying the course with work, in
Okay.
different ways, not out of pressure, but just out of kind of holding the alternative viewpoint out for me. Of like, I mean, I remember one of the most impactful things he said to me ever was when we were looking for nanny or daycare for our first kid, and I was a postdoc. I was working at an eating disorders treatment center, and my pay was like $5. I mean, it was like nothing, right? And so the nanny was going, or the daycare that we were looking at was going to cost my entire salary before taxes. And I just started sobbing. I was like, I've gotten so far, and now is it worth working with? Like, what? This doesn't even make any sense. And he said to me, Anne, do not think about this as your salary. This is coming out of our salaries. He was always a team player. Um, and that was huge for me, that reframing
Yes.
of like, this is so that we can work and have things, not I work and you are all childcare. Now, that doesn't mean to say it was easy. I totally defaulted into being the default parent, and we had some fights and some conversations about that. But I think there has been this thread of he really got it from early on that we are a team, and that was lucky in my part for having a partner that sees that. And I think the thing is, like, yes, marriage takes work. it shouldn't only take work from one partner. And a lot of times I think that's part of why, we're seeing more, I feel like we're seeing more and more women in their 40s in particular, kind of saying like, I can't do this and you should
Yes.
not have to, right? Like divorce in and of itself is not going to ruin your children, right? And your mental health and well-being is actually more important for your children, and you
Yes.
cannot outwork a couple's problem. So there has to be some element of team at play for the marriage to work.
You're exactly right. He's a partner to you. And you worry about separation and two different houses, like you said, quote, ruining your children. But anyone listening, and again, I am not a proponent of divorce. I went back on it so many times, but think of what you are showing them having two parents in the house in a
Yeah.
toxic relationship, what behaviors they're privy to, because they will accept those behaviors in relationships because they're going to be like, oh, this is what mommies and daddies do. I've seen this before. So that was it for me. Like what was happening? Yeah, they had two parents in the home. They're not in a quote broken family, but they never saw a mom and dad sit on the couch and watch TV together or hold hands. They didn't see love. So if you're
Yeah.
staying to give them two parents, like what are you showing them with the two parents? And then a
Yeah.
beautiful segue into I wanted to ask you, how do we raise daughters who will become wives and mothers and be us one day in the same situation to not feel like their needs are irrelevant?
One of the things I love about working clinically with mothers is this amazing opportunity to heal ourselves. And that's exactly what you need to do, right? There's a lot of this language around reparenting, but really I just mean role modeling, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's uncomfortable, sometimes again, that bridge we were talking about from I deserve this might be I'm going to let myself have this because it's going to role model for my kid what I want them to have. And so I give myself permission to rest or to go see my friends for a weekend or whatever it is, because I know that that is teaching my children that motherhood is enjoyable and moms also get to be people too. And it's
Yes.
not just for my daughters, right? I think it's really important for my sons to see this and to
I'm glad you said
recognize
that.
like, oh yeah, dad can do it. I mean, is dad's parenting over a weekend the same as mine? No, but dad's perfectly capable of like giving hugs and helping with homework and doing all those things. And it's kind of helping all of my children see that parents are kind of these more broad things, right? Like my one of my sons wants to be a dad. Like he's like, maybe I'll be a teacher, but I want to be a dad.
Oh, I love that.
Amazing, right? Like what a
Yes.
wonderful model to say, like, yeah, dads can be primary caregivers too.
I'm so glad you said that because my question was specific to like they'll be moms one day, but don't you also want to raise somebody that's going to be a partner that is the partner that I wanted to show up for me? And so you have to show
Yeah.
what you're accepting of and what, you know, if you're not, if you accept that behavior, they're going to think that's what love and marriage is because they've seen it before. And if you wouldn't want it for your child, then you can't stay in it yourself. Let's end it with my favorite tip from you. I've heard you talk about reevaluating what's important to you, your tool to do that.
Yes, my closet clean out, right? We all know what you do when you clean out your closet, right? You like take all your clothes out, lay them on the bed, and you're like, oh, this sweater's itchy and I never actually wear it. Give away those jeans that fit pre pregnancy. They're just causing me guilt. Get rid of it, right? You get rid of the stuff that doesn't, to Marie Kondo, it doesn't bring you joy, right? It doesn't fit and isn't comfortable, right? We can do that. And I actually advocate doing that on a somewhat regular basis with our whole identity. And so you basically write, what are all the expectations that I'm carrying around of me? And in all my roles as a mom, as a sister, as a daughter, as a employee
Right.
or a leader or community member, whatever. And then you say, where did I get all of that? Right? Is it from Instagram? Is it from that thing the teacher told me when I was in second grade that I've been hanging on to all this time? Is it from what Nana said? Is it from whatever? Some of it's explicit, some of it's implicit, like we just kind of picked it up. But if you
Yes.
can label it and then think, what are the things that are actually belong in my closet? What do I really truly agree with here? And we're gonna get rid of everything else. And that doesn't mean you literally, right, like your brain, you don't get a lobotomy. Like those expectations are still in there. But now you have language for it. And when we have language, we have a container and it's easier to deal with. It's not affecting you without noticing it. So when you have that experience of like, oh, I should do X, Y, or Z, you can be like, oh yeah, that's that expectation showing up. I said already, I don't believe this. So I'm going to consciously choose to behave differently. It will be uncomfortable. That's
Yes.
okay. That doesn't mean you're doing something wrong, but it's a way of really evaluating and what are the intentional choices I'm making with my behavior, and are they actually aligned with what I believe?
Absolutely. And if you found yourself being cynical and resentful, you may need a closet clean out.
Yeah.
You may want to look at that. And you've also said, like, you don't have to blow up your whole life to make a change. Like, it's kind of like what you're talking about with the bridge. What's something like a step towards you uncover something and then you feel like I have to file for divorce. I have to quit my job. It doesn't have to be something big like that. Like, what's an example of taking a step towards a new life without blowing up your life?
Yeah, I mean, I use the analogy of like a compass, right? And if you change 1 degree on a compass, 10 steps, you're not going to end up very far from where you were. But if you fly across the ocean, you're going to be a whole new country, right? So, what's the 5 minute thing you can do? Right. Even if it feels so like mindfulness, I know we were talking about meditation, right? What's a way to start that? Can you be mindful when you brush your teeth? That is hope maybe we're all doing the 2 minute teeth brushing. Maybe you're hitting 30 seconds. Can you notice the toothpaste flavor and the bubbles as they swish around your mouth and the feeling of your feet on the bathroom floor? Like just physically notice the sensation.
Yeah.
That's mindfulness. That's a practice of presence, right? And so tie it into something you do already. Don't make it be bigger than it needs to be. But every time we take those baby steps, we build self trust. And the more we
Yes.
trust ourselves, back to that gut decision we were talking about at the very beginning, right? It becomes easier and easier to access want and to say we can do things, scary things, take risks, achieve big goals. All of that comes from the little things, right? A marathon is just a series of a lot of small steps.
Yes, beautiful. I'm gonna be mindful when I brush my teeth. I was thinking too when I tie my shoes because you have to do that. You can't leave without tying your
There you
shoes. So
go.
just a few seconds of mindfulness. The book Ambitious Mother From Surviving to Thriving in Your Career and at Home. It drops in August. What will we get with the book, and where else can we get more from you?
Yeah. So with the book, if you pre-order bonuses, I'm really excited about. There's a whole book, extra ebook bonus on a day in her life, and it walks you through what does the literal day look like for a lot of working moms, and how do they manage it, and navigate it, and then there's some kind of question prompts to think about what do I want to pull from this for my own life. Are there any of those 5 minute changes I want to look at? And I have someone that's a teacher and a doctor and an interior designer and all sorts of different careers. So it's like this wonderful way of like positive role modeling.
Yeah.
There's some guided meditations in there to our discussion today that are all real brief. And there's some scripts for really hard conversations, right? Sometimes we want to have a conversation, we don't know how to initiate it. So I give you some language to start with.
Nice.
So people can get all of those if you go to my website, drannewelsh.com, or Ambitious Mother Book is the other way to access that website. It'll give you links to buy the book. You can also get it at Amazon or anywhere books are sold. It's Instagram and LinkedIn at Dr. Anne Welsh.
Okay, perfect. We'll end it with what is one thing you want a woman listening to our conversation today to definitely take with them?
The biggest message I want every reader and everyone listening to take is you matter. Your wants matter. Your needs matter. Put yourself back in the equation because taking care of you is a way of taking care of everybody else.